of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call. Mindy is excused.
Thank you. Bartlett?
Yes.
Lyle?
Yes.
M. Cortade?
Yep.
Cook?
Here.
I am here. Friend?
Here. Okay, you have the agenda in front of you. We'll stick to this agenda, particularly because we don't have all of our board members. Is there any conflict of interest? Don't see any declared, so we'll move to approval of the agenda. Is there approval of the agenda?
Hold on. How come online you had the nepotism policy on the agenda, but you don't have it here?
I didn't have it on the agenda ever. It's on the cover sheet.
Well, it should be on here.
It's an attachment on the cover sheet. It was never on the agenda.
Yeah.
So, motion to approve the agenda, is there support?
Support.
Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? All right, we'll move forward with public comment. Is there public comment? Seeing no public comment, we'll go to the business before the Township Board. There are the June 9th board minutes in front of you. Does anybody have any suggested changes? Or is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of, where am I, June 9th? Sorry.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Support by Lyle. All those in favor of approving the June 9th board minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? Okay, motion passes. Okay. Then we move to East Bay Ambulance, interim director and rate of pay. You have, that begins on page 8 of your packet. And you have introduction. Of course, all of you received an email that was Nick's resignation letter, which surprised us all. But as I said, we've done a great job here. We appreciate it immensely, and we will miss you immensely. With that, I had a chance to talk with Nick about his resignation and the process that we go from having him as a director to having an unnamed director eventually and an interim director. He has recommended Barb Boersma. Barb has stepped up and helping him with some things in the office previously and has taken on the responsibility of ordering all of the supplies. He's gone to a conference with Nick and so forth. So he has recommended Barb Boersma be the interim director. I concur. We do have the interesting situation where Barb currently works with her husband, and so this would not be a permanent position because the nepotism policy would speak to that and not allow that. However, this is an interim position and giving us time to notice the position, keeping the ordering going, the scheduling going, payroll, timesheets, that sort of thing. And then we'll be listing the job description, which we have the previous job description here. We will plan on using that job description. I don't think you had any changes, did you? Yeah. So we will list that one. We'll make sure when we list it that we list in the places where it has to be listed. Plus, we'll do an outreach to areas where we think people who will be looking for a job as an ambulance director would be looking. So as far as compensation, and I kind of walk through what I did here. I talked about that with Nick. I also talked about that with Barb. As I said in here, Barb said if she is selected, she would be happy to serve in that position. We truly appreciate that. This kind of threw a curve to her and her willingness to say, you know, we've got you covered, happy to do it, is very much appreciated. regarding the compensation and talking with them both, I suggested, and they are both fine with this, is taking Nick's most recent hourly position, which was in 24, it was in the 23 resolution.
It was 2861.
In 20
2.5, it'd be 2933.
Yep, yep. In 2024, it was 2861. And then, so that would be a $2.82 premium per hour from Barb's current salary. So she is, I don't have that in the memo, but she is at 2651. So we would add that $2.82 to make that the difference. And she was comfortable with that process and that method, and Nick was as well. I am fine with that. It will not create a budget amendment because the impact will be marginal, if not actually, probably a little bit lower somewhat, so.
So my question.
Yeah.
Is that also the hourly wage that is a part-time paramedic Nick would receive? So are you talking about it being?
No, we haven't talked about that with Nick yet. So he's offered to be a part-time paramedic. We haven't changed anything with that, so we'll have to discuss what his part-time
So
wage
that
would
part is
be.
in the discussion tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they schedule out like a month in advance, so, there might be an opportunity at some point, like in the near future, if somebody calls off or something, but we'll have that discussion coming up pretty quickly, and we'll have that fit within the range that's approved by the township board, because remember, every year there's a range that's approved. So with this, the attachments you have are the ambulance director job description, the resignation letter, the anti-nepotism policy, the budget impact, which I mentioned is marginal, and then a suggested motion to have Barb as interim director. In the case that Barb does become or indicates to me that she is interested in applying for that, first of all, it's not a given that she would get that position. We'll post it and interview the people who apply that are qualified. And if she were to receive an offer for that, both her and Dan realized that he would need to be removed from the ambulance. So, but we hate to lose a paramedic in the interim over an interim position. So with that, any questions?
Do we not have to vote on his resignation, accepting
I was going
it?
to ask that. I mean,
No.
as an elected official, you do, but I don't believe you have to for.
No, we haven't before. I mean, it's not going to change whether he leaves or not.
That's true. Or we could.
So, like when people have left before, no, like when PT left or when someone retired.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was just asking.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. If anyone has any questions or if there's a motion.
How long do you anticipate this being?
Well, Nick gave us 2 weeks, barely 2 weeks. And so his last day will be a week from today. So we will start to post this immediately, hopefully by the end of this week. And then get that out to all of the, Michigan Works and all the places where it's supposed to be on the website, so forth. And then it just really becomes a function of the applications we get and the timing. I will probably put that it's out there, I would say at least 2 weeks. We didn't really talk about the timing of that, Nick. Don't you think 2 weeks is enough?
That's a good start.
Yeah, so I think what we'll say is interviews beginning and give a 2-week time from the time that the ads are placed. Excuse me.
I would also put the comment that applications remain until positions full or
Yeah, that's,
accepted.
yep, perfect. We've done that before and it's worked well. We can do that again. So I would say if we had to put a time frame on it, if it's 'cause this week, 2 weeks, it's going to be at least, that's 3 weeks right there.
At least a month.
So it's
Well,
at least a month.
month.
And then it will just matter either where it lines up with the board meeting or if we have a special meeting to do that.
Well, and it would depend on who you get, because some people might apply from outside the area, so they'd have to
Or they might have to give their,
notice and, yeah,
so,
yeah.
yep.
I would make a motion to approve the appointment of Barb as temporary interim ambulance director with an hourly wage or premium of 2.82 hours.
Right. I don't think she agreed to $2.82 cents an hour.
Sorry.
You're really a giving person, but, you
I was
know.
expecting the full
Yep.
wage there.
Yeah. I just put the premium on there because, yeah.
And I appreciate the comment about, I'm just going to, if I can, I appreciate the comment knowing that this is a temporary and that if for some reason she becomes permanent, that Dan would have to step down because that
Yep.
would be a whole discussion then.
Yeah, definitely. Matter of fact, we even talked about when Nick recommended her, you know, was there somebody else? And there are really great qualified paramedics that we have, and, but he really felt that we would be best served by Barb, so. There's a motion, is there support?
Support.
Okay, there is a motion by Bartlett and support by Cook. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by no? Any opposed by no? Is that
We
no?
need to have comment once we do.
Oh,
If you need additional comment.
Oh, okay. Let me do this again here. Motion by Bartlett, support by Cook. Any further discussion?
There we go. I don't agree with your analysis on the nepotism policy. The first two words in it is no person. Doesn't say anything about interim through the whole thing. It doesn't, whatever. If we're going to have a policy, we should follow it, period. I understand that they're both employed now, and I have nothing against either one of them, but it's the policy. And this really needs to be discussed if this is what we're going to do, because we can't just willy-nilly say, oh, well, this one doesn't apply to this person, but it does apply to that person. When this was written, the real intent was that nobody would have supervisory over someone else that was related. But it didn't come out that clear because it was written too fast. But that was the intent back then. And so in this case, that's exactly what you're getting. You're getting someone with supervisory powers over a relative. And so,
Yep, you have some very good points there. You're right. You do have somebody in supervisory position. I will tell you that in discussions, anything that comes up that we're in regards to a personnel issue that I would typically handle with, say, Nick, or Nick would handle with other people, Barb will be doing the work now. If anything involves her husband, she would be removed from that equation. She would refer the issue to me to gain information and decipher exactly what's happening there. And happy to take a look at the suggestion of, if I hear it correctly, of redrafting the nepotism policy.
well, I'll take it one step further. You know, we paid for a whole rewrite on our personnel manual. That was several years ago, and it's never come in front of this board. It should be part of that whole discussion.
Yeah, it was about 1.5 years ago, and unfortunately, we didn't have very good counsel, but we do still have some of that product, and we can move forward with that as well.
It was more than 1.5 years ago. I'm
So.
closer to 3 years.
So,
But anyway, I still disagree with it. I have no problem with the individual, but policy is the policy. And we went through this just a couple months ago, and it was adamant for some of you that they couldn't do it that way. And now all of a sudden, well, it's okay because it's a different situation. I'm a little bit miffed.
so when you talk about the policy, would you like to see that across all of those, all positions then?
Well, if we're going to have a discussion about the policy, we should have a discussion about the policy. But the policy states that no person is to be considered eligible, period. It doesn't say anything interim, it doesn't say anything part-time.
So how would you, like, election workers, what would we do? Because I know a lot of them are related, right? Like, a husband and wife might work together.
That's statutory, that's a whole different thing. You can't touch that.
Yeah, I think because we don't have a full board, that's not a discussion that we
Yeah,
should be
that's
having.
fine. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I just wanted to, ask a question of the comments that you were raising, so.
Yeah, I know that's
So,
your crawl, but no.
not really, but any further comments? Okay, there was a motion by Bartlett and support by Cook. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed by no?
No.
M. Corte dissents, and the motion passes. With that, we have an opportunity for second public comment. I guess, Barb, I would take the opportunity at second public comment just to welcome you and to thank you for stepping up to serve in that position. And Nick, again, would like to thank you for your service to the ambulance, particularly when you first started and it was at a critical time with the ambulance.
And then I just want to thank all of you for your support through the years. Everybody gives me a lot of credit for what we've done over there, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you. So thank you all for your support over the years.
Well, thank you. All right, with that, we have our upcoming meeting on July 14th, and we'll see you all there. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just call me.